And the fire chief told me that this is a huge problem and it's happening all the time, and they're going to actually be writing something into the code, fire code, to address it because it is so problematic.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Real Estate Podcast. In this episode, we're talking fire safety and permits around your house. Let's go.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Adrian just told me that he's got to pee.
Well, you said you're ready, and I'm like, am I ready? And I'm like, no, I'm not quite ready, but I'll be fine.
It's got to be quick anyway. I got to go to a listing conversation, so.
Works for me. So Ian came up with today's topic.
Yeah, based on the analytics of what people are watching on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the basement, anytime we've talked about permits.
Permits in the basement apartment.
And basement apartments.
Yeah. And tenant-related stuff.
Yeah. Oh, the tenant-related stuff. Yeah. The landlords, the tenants, everybody comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Tenants complaining about landlords. Landlords complaining about tenants.
So today it was...
just talking about permits. What permits do I need around the house if I'm doing a renovation?
Yes. I don't actually know.
What about basements? Well, the answer is I don't know either.
So the answer is get everything signed off on.
Well, that's safe. Always good. You know, you don't want to be in a lawsuit where you haven't done your homework, though.
And then what about from an insurance perspective?
Well, some things need to be permitted, just like a wood stove, as an example.
Well, there's some things that are... well, to us, maybe are obvious. You can't just install a wood stove.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Like, you can't just install a septic system.
I know people that have.
Yeah, you know people that have with no permits?
Yep. We've sold a house that had one.
Really?
Yeah, but it was disclosed.
Right. Okay. But generally speaking, you need a permit based on the bylaws of most municipalities and towns.
Well, need is subjective. But you don't need it for it to be there and be safe. You need it.
Well, do you need an electrical permit?
Depends what are you doing.
If a home is being rebuilt from scratch or built brand new.
Anytime you're redoing anything substantial.
Okay, I would say a big fucking tank in the ground is pretty substantial.
No, I'm saying
one that's full of shit and piss.
No, I mean, yes and no. I mean, if...
What?
What are the repercussions of the septic system not working?
I don't know. Your shit and piss going to places where it shouldn't be?
I guess so. Do you think people... Okay, I'll tell you something I've done in my house. So, on my second floor, I have a loft area, so I shiplapped the ceiling to make it look nicer. I installed a faux wood beam. And then beside that, on the flat ceiling, the lower ceiling, I had two lights, each with its own switch. I took one of them in the attic. I went in the attic. I rewired one of them into a junction box and ran a new wire up to the vaulted ceiling to install a ceiling fan. And then the other one... I just, instead of having that one ugly builder's light, I installed six LED pot lights.
So the breaker that it's on, can it handle that load?
Yeah.
So I don't know, again, every county, jurisdiction, whatever, depending on where you're listening or watching.
County?
Well, people in the States.
Yeah, okay.
It's a big part of our listening audience. Every place got its own rules, man.
That's right. It does.
So if you're buying, selling, renovating, whatever, you got to do your due diligence specific to your home. If it's a heritage home, as an example, it might have different bylaws or requirements for things being permitted or not.
Yeah.
Basements, as we know, vary depending on where the house is.
Well, and then there's different aspects of it. I mean, there's the legal aspect of it from a municipal perspective and building code and fire code and stuff like that.
Yes. Then there's the insurance aspect. Which could be different.
And then liability becomes a consideration.
Of course. If I can tell you this much, it's probably not a requirement to have a permit to change your own receptacle.
Right.
But if an unlicensed person changes that receptacle and it burns down the house and your tenant dies because of your shoddy electrical work, you will be liable.
Yeah, potentially. Probably, maybe not.
Well, depends on who your lawyer is, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'll rephrase that. You could be liable.
Well, we'll use my mistake in the office as an example.
Oh, you want to go there, do you?
Yeah. So when we were moving into our office.
Have you told this story before live?
I mean, I don't know if it's been on the podcast before, but this is a good learning lesson for people.
It's true.
And so we got the office, got the keys. We were doing a bunch of stuff, building it out, decorating it. And one of the things we were doing, we were building a couple of desks and a nice feature wall, all made out of walnut.
They've seen the feature wall. Come on, they follow.
Maybe. We'll show a picture of it. And anyway, so we had all of my tools in here, basically turned it into a woodworking shop. We were here after hours building all this stuff. And when it came time to stain, something happened, I guess I'll just say. So I had stained all the wood. And I was very mindful of cleaning up because I like to keep a very clean work area. I hate to come into a mess and lose stuff and whatever, or get injured. So it was very tidy. So at the end of staining, I put all the rags into a garbage bag. I put the garbage bag into our storage room. And this was on a Saturday. Sunday morning at like 6-something in the morning.
This was literally a year ago. Just over a year ago.
At 6-something in the morning, I get a call. I'm like, wow, it's really early for a phone call. So I answered it, and it was, I don't know who it was, property management. Somebody called me to say, there's been a fire in your office. And I'm just like beyond myself because we've just done all this work. Like, it didn't seem real. I was like, this can't be happening.
Bro, so the next thing you did was you called me.
Yeah.
So like 7 o'clock, I'm getting a call from you. You never call me that early.
Yeah.
Especially on a Sunday.
Right.
And you said, and I was surprisingly not fully awake yet.
Yeah.
I think I was maybe having my coffee or something when I just had woken up. And you texted me, there's been a fire. And so I'm having my coffee and I reread your text message probably 5 times because I was trying to figure out what happened? How did that make sense? Is this a joke? And then I called you a couple minutes later, and when you told me, I looked back at our camera.
Oh yeah.
Because that camera was strategically pointed to that door and the front door.
Well, aimed at the front door, but happened to be able to see the closet.
Right.
Or
Yes.
storage room, rather.
Storage room.
Yeah.
And we wanted it there because we didn't know what contractors were coming in and out potentially. We didn't know at that time who had a key to the place.
Yeah.
And all of the tools that we had and everything are very desirable theft items.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking back at it and all I see is all I heard was crackling.
Oh yeah. I don't remember the video. I have to find it.
I have it somewhere. I'll have Robbie included in the podcast so everybody can watch it because that is a huge learning lesson.
Yeah. So what happens is, and I think a lot of people aren't aware of this, but with certain oil-based stains and other chemicals, so read the instructions.
Read the label
and labels. So these things, as they cure and dry, they generate heat. So generally with this one I was using was Rubio Monocoat, which by the way is a fantastic product. It worked really well, aside from it spontaneously
Beautiful
combusting. So you're supposed to lay them flat to dry so that the heat is evenly dispersed and it is not an issue, or you soak it in water for a little while first. Anyway, so we had all these rags in a bag, and because they're squished together so tightly, and as they cure, they create heat, and apparently enough heat to spontaneously combust, which they did. Fortunately, they were directly under a sprinkler head.
Fortunately, it was in the storage room, which fortunately had a sprinkler head right above it.
Yes.
Which fortunately, there was nothing else in that room of really any significance or value.
Yes, and there's really nothing on the floor, even because of us keeping everything tidy. So most things were on tables or desktops or whatever. So there wasn't much damage, really. Although the biggest problem was the sprinkler, which is always the case, and it flooded our unit a couple inches of water.
The whole unit.
But it quickly drained down below, which unfortunately inconvenienced the guys below. But they were phenomenal. They're really nice people. And it worked out in a way that we met our neighbors very quickly and made some friends, learned a lesson. And after speaking with several people after the incident, one of my brothers, Jeff Mack, who we're close with, it is a lot of, he's a carpenter, does woodworking, builds tables and many other things. But he had an instance in his shop where the same thing happened. They have a proper disposal bin, but I guess it was overflowing and the lid was open just ever so slightly. And fortunately, someone was in his office. It was late at night, and normally I don't think someone would have been there. But they went into the shop and there was about 3 feet of smoke on the ceiling, and they took the bin outside. And immediately, as soon as it caught the air outside, it ignited. And the fire chief told me that this is a huge problem and it's happening all the time. And they're going to actually be writing something into the fire code to address it because it is so problematic.
Right.
So thank God it was here and I wasn't doing it at home because my house would be burnt down.
Yeah.
Right. I have no
especially
fire
you would have been
suppression systems there.
You would have been doing it in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time you found out,
done.
You might, and it happened when
middle
you were
of the
still
night,
sleeping.
4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I think it started.
So you may not have even been able to go down your stairs.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have, and that's another good topic, is fire safety.
If you want to go down that path, let's do it. Because I think that's a hugely important topic. And ironically, maybe that's a sign, that's one of the things I thought about having as a topic for today.
Oh, wow. So let's do it. And it's not a long one, but, what do you do? What have you done, if anything, at home to prepare?
There's always a good fire extinguisher available, but they're under the sink.
Yeah.
And, how convenient is it? Because this is what happens with a lot of people. I'm not the outlier here, is you get a fire extinguisher, it works, it's pressure is still
but where
good,
is it?
But where is it? And if it's tucked away somewhere, like under a sink cabinet, you've got crap in front of it. So is it easy to pull out and, have you checked it? When's the expiry date? They do have to be recharged and they should be inspected, or you just recycle that and get a new one. And then, so for us, it's very basic and it's something I've been thinking about. It's just the fire extinguishers and our Nest alarms, which I have to say are a pretty good not preventative, but
first measure.
First alert kind of, first measure, because there's one on each floor. They all talk to each other. They're very adaptive to your environment in that it's not going off randomly like normal smoke detectors might.
So to explain that, I think it can tell the difference in most cases between minor smoke from cooking versus...
Yeah, I just think the sensitivity it makes sense. Like when it does go off, there's definitely something smoking that you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And the fact that you get the alerts on your phone and you can shut it off. Like if you are cooking, you got some chicken wings and the grease is splattering everywhere in the oven, sometimes that will set it off. You can silence it with your phone. So
imagine you did that by accident, though. You heard it, you thought it was your alarm, so you turn over and snooze it.
no, if it's happening when you're sleeping, something's wrong.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
for sure.
Or if nobody's home, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why that's cool, because if you and the people living in your home, if they have access to it, the only time that smoke alarm should be going constantly, like over the 30s. If it's going for 30 seconds in my house, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because usually one of us will silence it real quick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I know did you invest in one of those ladders for the...
Tessa has one in her room, so it just it hooks over the windowsill.
So her room is the side of the house?
Yeah. So we have like our fire safety plan. Like McKenna knows to get out of her window onto the roof, and assuming it's safe, just wait there. If it's unsafe, then she can jump down onto the truck or the van, and she would probably be okay. But before doing that, she knows to, check for signs, like check the door handle on her door, look for smoke, ideally go to her sister's room if it's safe. And then they could go it that way using the ladder. And we do have fire extinguishers, but honestly, like I always forget where they are because it's not top of mind. And then sometimes I'll see it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's right there. But if there was a fire, I'd be like, hey, where did we put that fucking thing?
Yeah. And does everybody know? Does everybody know how to use it?
That's true. But maybe we should probably replace them soon. So maybe I'll have them use them to demonstrate how it works.
Yeah.
Even light a fire somewhere out back or take it to the cottage. That's a good idea.
That would actually be a good session for us to try and coordinate for our client list at one of the fire stations. Maybe if we can get one of the local fire stations to put on some kind of a fire safety at home seminar.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think we should look into that. That would be great.
Done.
Anyway, so permits.
Permits. Yeah. I say I guess the question is, why do people not get permits? And I think the reason people don't get permits are they're lazy. They think they cost a lot, or
they want a shortcut.
Well, that would be lazy. They just want it done.
No, dude, I know a lot of contractors.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They don't want to do it to code.
Right.
Which is stupid.
Well, I don't know. Depends what it is. There are some things where contractors will tell you, yeah, code doesn't make sense. It actually should be done this way. They haven't revised that code in freaking how many years. And technology, when they brought that code into play, it was different than it is today because now they got this.
I've never heard that, but I'd be open to hearing it. I mean, code is in place to be safe. So unless there's new products.
It's not saying that it's not safe, but there might be a better way of doing things these days.
Yeah, or better product. Like I know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Shark bite stuff and
yeah, I don't know if that's
does that mean
I know plumbers
code?
aren't. From what I hear, plumbers aren't fond of them, but they seem to work great. And then there's also like for electrical, you've got the Morettes that people generally twist on, but you've also got, I can't remember what they're called, the plug-in ones where you can stick them in. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know. I can't think of the name of them. Instead of a Morette where you twist the wires together, you have a little plug with.
I don't know what those are called.
Yeah, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they are phenomenal. Like they're super handy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're to code.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So, but the other reason someone may not.
Some TikToks you watch about electrical stuff.
Yeah.
And always somebody saying that's not to code, this is not to code.
Well, and that just goes to
and
their
then
region.
It depends on the region that they're in.
Yeah. The other
like
reason,
in some cases with a Moret, you have to actually tape it too.
I usually do.
Yeah.
Because I'm paranoid.
But in some areas,
because I had a dishwasher I installed.
In some areas to code, you don't.
I had a dishwasher I installed.
What's going on over there?
And one day the breaker tripped. I couldn't figure it out. I turned it back on, breaker tripped again. So I went upstairs, opened it up, and it had come out of the Moret and was shorting. So and from then on, I taped it up as well. And the other reason is because in some cases, it may trigger a new property valuation. And then your taxes are going up.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it's...
If you have a legal basement apartment.
You could see a significant change.
Speaking of which, have you checked your property taxes for 2025?
No.
Yeah, they're up again.
Well, they are. I mean, everyone went up. I think Milton went up like 8% or something.
Yeah, they're up significantly.
But that's without the MPAC assessment change.
Yeah.
So wait for that.
Yeah, I know.
Because that will be probably a 20 to 30% increase, I suspect.
Yeah.
Pretty substantial, I'm guessing. Because it's been eight years.
Which means the average house in our town, Milton, the average tax for a detached home will probably be between $5,000 and $6,000. Yeah. Well, it already is.
Oh, for sure. Easy.
Yeah. So you got a budget for that.
Yeah. Cost of living. Fun.
Anyway, I got to get to this listing conversation. Good repeat client of mine. Well, it's a family member. Nice home in Mississauga.
Mm-hmm.
They're downsizing, older folks.
Okay. Can you say which neighborhood?
I'd rather not yet.
Okay.
It's on the west end of Mississauga.
Okay.
Not far from Milton.
Okay. So Churchill Meadows, Lisgar, Meadowvale.
You're
somewhere
right.
in there.
Yeah. Yes.
My stomping grounds.
Do you find actually in Mississauga, because we do a fair bit, we grew up there, I find there's more people when they shop in Mississauga, especially on the west end, that they are open to, like, it doesn't really matter as much what neighborhood they're in. It's more budget and type of home specific.
The homes, yeah,
I guess you have no choice because...
the homes do differ a fair bit.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking too, yeah.
But that changes too, like with time. Like the older neighborhoods, a lot of the homes are updated, so somebody would be almost prefer that because they get the benefit of the bigger lot, the bigger streets.
Right, so you don't necessarily need to be in Churchill Meadows if you want a newer home, because now some of the ones in Lisgar, as an example, that are a little bit older, or in Meadowvale. It just
becomes a price issue.
Yeah. It's interesting how the dynamics of Mississauga now, because of the ages of the homes, the types of the demographic of people, the volume of people.
I'm also curious how many people, kind of unrelated, but how many people shop somewhere different from where they live. So for example, Alicia will almost always be found around Dundas and Upper Middle. Or sorry, Dundas and Appleby. Shopping at the various plazas there.
Right.
She doesn't like shopping.
She goes to Fortino's?
I don't know if she goes to Fortino's, but even like she'd rather go to that Walmart than go to the Milton Walmart.
Right.
And I don't know what the difference in time would be. Well, that's
like me with Rona.
Right.
You go to the Rona on Appleby.
Yeah.
Compared to the Rona here in Milton. Like it's day and night difference.
Yeah.
I don't know how much bigger, but they have a whole bunch more inventory of stuff right there. So
interesting.
And then you've got the Winners and HomeSense.
Yeah.
Which kicks the crap out of the one
here. The
here.
one in Milton is no good. Yeah.
So certain things you'd drive out of town, but everything is still available here. It's just that some other places have it better.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Well,
I mean, people from Acton got to come to Milton.
Oh, that's different. They don't have the option there in some cases.
Yeah.
Anyways.
At least we have an option.
This is true.
25 years ago when I started working in Milton, there was no option.
Yeah, there was not even many people here.
Right. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Ciao. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching episode 326 of the Real Estate Podcast. Leave a comment below if it's something permit related or you have some great fire safety tips around the house. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.